G'day there guys, says he's really productive, but really just lying to myself. How many of you guys could say, honestly, that you're productive all of the time? Because that's just a farce, I feel like. It's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, like the video, and enjoy the content. Thank you. Posted by user FaultFabulous. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my neighbour's kids play on my lawn? So I'm a man in my early 30s. I'm an MD, dermatologist, and recently I decided to move out of my apartment to a place with more space, especially a lawn, so that my dogs, I have two, can have more space. I spent a lot of my time in my clinic, private practice, and due to that, the two of them spend a lot of time alone. That being said, more space would definitely be advantageous for them. I searched for quite a while before I found a house that I liked. It had a big lawn, and I ended up buying it. It's in a very tiny neighbourhood in my city, and quite a calm one, which is always great. I've moved to this house about a week ago, and haven't had any real troubles at all. Everyone seemed friendly enough. Last Friday, however, when I got home and went to the lawn to play with my dogs, a woman came to knock on my door. She's one of the neighbours and is part of their association. I'm not, and I have no plans of ever joining them, but they don't harm me, so it's fine. I went to answer the door and see what she needed. She was pretty nice at first, welcoming me to the neighbourhood and all that. But afterwards, she said, and I quote, "So I know you're new, but we would like to ask you to keep your dogs inside your house when you're out. The kids like to play on the house's lawns, and they're afraid of your dogs, so you need to put them inside when you're not at home." For a moment, I didn't quite believe what I heard, and asked her to repeat, and she indulged me like this was a common occurrence. I just told her flat out, "No, the lawn is for the dogs, your kids have no business going to my property, nor do you have any grounds to make that demand." She did not take that well. She told me she was going to contact the association and all other kinds of stuff. I just told her flat out that she could call the Pope for all I cared. It was my property and my say in it stays. Oh boy, how wrong was I to say that. She left fuming and apparently, throughout the weekend, started to spread rumours about me to the neighbours. People who would smile at me or say good morning no longer even looked at my face. Honestly, I'm more pissed than anything, but seeing this many people believing my actions were that of an a-hole, it makes me wonder if I'm not in the wrong. I mean, they were just kids. I could have let them play in the lawn. Anyway, I decided to ask Reddit for help here. Am I the a-hole? Should I have just let them do what they want? And edit, just a note that I should have put beforehand, my lawn, which is my backyard, is already fenced. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I might have acted too hastily by just denying any kind of compromise that I could have tried to make. I do feel bad for the kids, as the house I own has the biggest lawn in the neighbourhood, and that's honestly a good space for the kids to play. That's mainly what makes me feel like I'm an a-hole. But the obvious animosity I've been getting from everyone else also doesn't help. It's your house and your rules. These people don't get to decide when you let your dogs out in your lawn on a property that you specifically bought to benefit your dogs. That's just ridiculous. Associations can be a lot to handle, and I'm just glad that you're not a part of it. That would have been fun dealing with this had you had the wrath of an HOA come down on you. Sure, the community can believe what it wants, but at the end of the day, you didn't actually do anything wrong here. So, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Cato95BC says, "You are categorically not the a-hole. No, the lawn is for the dogs. Your kids have no business going in my property, nor do you have any ground to make that demand. What you said is bang on. The entitlement of certain parents never ceases to amaze me. It's your property. Even if you didn't have dogs, you might just want peace and quiet. This is before we even get to possible legal issues about being aware that others are using your property as a red center for their kids. How to avoid pariah status in the neighborhood is another matter, but this person is a toxic a-hole. The only answer I know to this is for OP to put the real story out there on Facebook or whatever, putting the emphasis on her entitlement and toxicity. Not the a-hole OP, but that's probably your best bet to setting the story right. Let's not forget about the puppers. The best way to take full control over and send a clear message is to build a nice tall fence, one that strictly adheres to the bylaws of your association, of course, so no one can try and fine you or have you take it down, winky face, and not even have to worry about the possibility or liability of kids on your property. Maybe some signs with not so subtle warnings to any potential trespassers, because that's all they really are. Not the a-hole, that woman is insane. You have a fenced-in lawn on your property, that is your space, yours and your dog's space. To say, please don't use your property which you bought so that my kids can use it? I mean, she has to be literally insane to think that you'd accommodate that. My advice is to find out if there is a community message board or Facebook page. Go there and explain like this. I'm new to the neighborhood, and I want to introduce myself. I'm frequently out with my dogs on my front yard. They are extremely well trained and friendly, as am I, so please come by and say hello if you're passing. I look forward to meeting you all. I did receive a request to keep my dogs off their own lawn so that a neighbor's child could use my lawn as if it was their own. I'm sorry to say that I can't honor this request as I moved here to give my dogs the space, exercise, and attention they deserve. I hope you can all understand why I felt this request to not use my lawn was unreasonable. And I'm going to reply to my own comment to add that, because of the pandemic, my neighbor's dogs are my son's best friends. We have a shared lawn outside our condo that has basically become a dog park. My toddler runs around with them, shares food, plays catch, etc. The idea that this crazy lady's kids are scared of your dogs, and therefore your dogs should stay inside, I just can't get over that. She should teach her kids how amazing dogs are, and then politely ask if the kids can play with the dogs sometimes. Edit to add, I told my husband about this post and he said, I'll be right back. I'm going to ask our neighbors to stop parking in their own garage, because I want to put a pool table in it. Posted by user, Lady Jane, Am I the A-hole? Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling the people at work to call me by my name? So I, 23 female, have eccentric parents. I'm named after a historical figure. Their title plus their first name. I'm going to say here that my name is Lady Jane. After being embarrassed by this name all my life, I've grown to sort of love it. Not that many people will understand that, which I guess is fine. Anyway, at work, everyone decided Lady Jane is ridiculous and they would call me Jane. But there's another girl at work named Jane. I just told them to call me by my proper name or just Lady. They wouldn't do that, so they started calling me by my last name, which is unpronounceable to anyone who isn't Polish. I've heard so many variants, none being right, and I'm sick of them. This has basically all been decided by this woman, Greta. I told Greta to tell everyone else to either call me 1, Lady Jane, or 2, Lady. And she told me that I'm being way too aggressive about a minor issue that they've already solved. It may be solved to her, but I don't like hearing my last name butchered. She said my first name is too funny for the workplace, and to stop any jokes, I should keep being called by my last name. I said if I don't get referred to by my proper name, I simply won't respond. She said that's unprofessional, which it admittedly is. Am I the a-hole? It's only as unprofessional as you are being treated yourself. If they don't want to call you by the name that you prefer, then they don't get an answer until they use it. You wouldn't expect someone superior to you to be happy about calling them by a first name or a nickname. So why would someone else want to be disrespected in the same regard? Yes, it's a problem when you don't respond to them, OP, but at that point, it's all but victim blaming and shaming for not accepting being treated as other or less than. You shouldn't be treated as less than and not referred to by your name just because someone else has that name. That's ridiculous and childish by your workplace, and shame on them. Not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Lenny Pixie says, not the a-hole. I have co-workers with ridiculous names, like Princess or Perfect, and I call them by their names. May I add that your parents are a-holes too? People really do not think before naming their children at how difficult their lives can be, and you're a great example. Agreed with not the a-hole, but not for the parents. OP doesn't sound too bothered by her name now. She actually said she loves it. OP, I would start adding Hansel and to the beginning of your co-workers' names. I mean, it turned out okay in this instance, but it doesn't always. And it's not like the parents really knew in advance that she would be fine with it. They just got lucky. Not responding is unprofessional, but not nearly as unprofessional as solving someone else's name. Not the a-hole. She should simply repeat her proper name and wait for them to say it, using the proper nod to indicate such. If they do not, she can repeat her proper name and wait again. Eventually they will catch on. For some reason, a lot of people use a nickname for my name that I do not, so I do this a lot. Nobody can pronounce my last name either, so that's out. My first name is common and quite easy to pronounce, so I don't get why folks invent a nickname for it without seeing if it's one that I use. And Perky Blonde Chick says, not the a-hole, and if your wish is not respected, report them to HR. This is offensive on many levels, and you have standing to sue. Your name is your name, and other people don't get to change it to convenience themselves. This problem has already been experienced by many people of color and other ethnicities, and you will find case law addressing it. And as for unprofessional, they are being unprofessional. Your name is Lady Jane, not Susan, not girl, not Wisna Whiskey, Lady Jane, just like Mary Ann or Sue Ellen. Posted by user Salt Air Savannah. Titled, Am I the a-hole for assuming which name belonged to the human and which one belonged to the dog? So my mum lives in a 55+ community. I lived with her for 5 months last year, so I got to know a lot of the neighbours well. It's a new community, so a bunch of people have moved in since I lived there. I moved out of state, and I was visiting my mum for a long weekend this past week. While walking my dog, I had seen a woman and her dog a few times, and was friendly to her, making small talk. One day, I ran into a neighbour that I knew, and she pointed to a house and asked if I'd met Dorothy and Squeaks yet. I said I think I had talked to her, but hadn't met officially to introduce myself. Later that day, I saw the woman and her dog, and introduced myself and said, "And you're Dorothy, right?" The lady made an offended face and said, "Dorothy is my dog. My name is Squeaks." She walked off, and the rest of the time that I was at my mum's, every time I saw her, she gave me dirty looks every time I passed. Am I the a-hole? Edit. After talking to neighbours, apparently Squeaks is a nickname that she has to go by. I'm sure assumptions make an ass out of you and me, but surely she's not actually mad about that one. I feel like if given this choice, most anyone would choose Dorothy if they're not intentionally trying to annoy the old lady. This kind of makes her an a-hole for reacting that way instead of laughing it off in good nature and correcting you instead. That's just rude of her to do that to you. I don't blame you for coming here to question it because I would feel the same way. Not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Stoat King says, not the a-hole. A perfectly reasonable assumption, lol. Anyway, Squeaks is just her nickname. Her real name is Bowser. This is really ridiculous, lol. You have to actually be giving negative Fs to go by Squeaks, lol. My freakometer doesn't go below 0. That one chick you know says, I'm going with not the a-hole. That was a totally reasonable assumption to make. Probably you're assuming it irritated Squeaks because you are almost definitely not the first person to make the mistake, but she shouldn't have taken it out on you. Why would she think that anyone would assume her name is Squeaks, lol? Exactly what I thought. And if she's gonna go by Squeaks and call her dog Dorothy, somehow I doubt this is the first or last time this lady will see this exact situation come up. She ought to get used to it and stop wasting energy getting offended. Oh man, the things people choose to get upset about. Not the a-hole. I find it sad that she's making her life so much harder on herself by being upset about this. Like, if I was a lady with a dog in a nice retirement community and had chosen these names, I would treat it like an elaborate prank that I'm playing on everyone, and then make a joke and laugh when someone realizes the mistake, and possibly make them squirm a bit just for fun. But obviously like for a minute or two only. It's not a microaggression, like you're obtusely misnaming her, like when people keep using dead names, or refusing to learn the proper pronunciation of non-white sounding names, or anything like that. You made an honest and very reasonable mistake. And Shizzlemoo says, not the a-hole. I love my dog more than most people, and would be happy for you to call me Bean, lol. Seriously though, this woman needs to relax a little. Also, what is a bee community? I too want to know what a bee community is. Retired people who also keep bees? And OP says, oops, that was supposed to say new. The community is just over a year old. Posted by user Informal Collection 1, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my wife's friend out of our wedding after she refused to remove a piercing? So the backstory is that my wife, 25 female, has a friend, 25 female, that I, 29 male, don't get along with too well. I met her friend while I was dating my wife and we didn't click too well, but we were still friendly and respectable to one another. Unfortunately, a year ago while we were having a get-together, we got into a huge argument and things haven't been the same between me and the friend since. I won't go into the details of the argument, since in and of itself it's not too relevant, but it was really bad and put us on horrible terms. Nonetheless, my wife still wanted to invite her to our wedding since they were good friends and I agreed. It was a medium-ish wedding, about 100 people, and per usual, it was formal. That leads me to the next part. When her friend arrived at the wedding, I noticed she had a nose piercing on the side of her nose, and I was instantly annoyed. I'm a bit biased because I do think piercings are trashy in general, but I think anyone is free to wear them, but not at weddings. Sometime later, after the ceremony, I went up to the friend and asked for a word privately. I told her to remove her piercing immediately, or she has to leave. Of course, she started acting like a bitch and cursed at me. I remained calm nonetheless and told her she is no longer welcome and must leave. She tried to go and speak to my wife, but I blocked her and told her where the exit was. She was crying, and after more yelling and getting some looks from people passing by, she left. We were in a different room from where the main event was taking place, so luckily the wedding wasn't disturbed. Obviously there was fallout in the coming days, and my wife was annoyed with me that I kicked her friend out. Since the event was formal, I think it was appropriate to remove any piercings. Someone I know has tattoos, and he even covered them up. I might be the a-hole for kicking the friend out without my wife's approval, but I did give her a chance to remove the piercing, and she refused to do that simple task. Yes, you suck for kicking your wife's friend out. I don't understand what universe you think you live in, because in this one, piercings are normal. They're definitely something that's considered formal in my experience. You're an A-grade asshole for kicking that friend out at the wedding without your wife's permission, without even a semblance of good reason to do so. She literally did nothing besides wear a piercing, and you've acted like she's spat in your mother's face. That's abhorrent behavior. You're the a-hole, OP. In the comments, Fake Mona Lisa says, You're the a-hole. So, how badly did you want to screw this woman, and how harshly did she reject you? Because I cannot imagine any other circumstance where a man would be so hyper-focused on something so small and insignificant after literally just getting married. How embarrassing for your wife that instead of being in the moment, happy for being surrounded by 100 of your closest friends and family during a pandemic, you fixated on a piece of jewelry in another woman's nose to the point where you had just had to make a scene over it. That's what was on your mind right then? That is the thing that was the most important to you. Someone's nose ring. Yikes. Hopping on the top comment to add what OP says the original argument was about. Basically, I said that Black Lives Matter should change to a different name because BLM, Bureau of Land Management, had that acronym for decades prior, and it was unfair to them. She disagreed and started getting abusive with me, and eventually insults and yelling ensued. I cannot even with OP. OP is lucky somebody married him with all the red flags he keeps dropping round. The flag is basically a siren at this point. But this is assuming she doesn't feel the same. Kinda hard to hide this stuff. Alarms can lead you to something just as easily as tell you where not to go. Dude, he sounds fine. A likely racist guy who doesn't like your friends and ignores you at your wedding to corner them in a room alone and yell at them over what they do with their body? Sign me up. Yeah, I can totally see why she felt that he was the one. What a piece of work. OP's poor wife should expect to keep losing friends, as they all wonder why on earth she's subjecting them to this massive a-hole. FYI to OP, nose rings are not trashy. It depends on the culture. In some cultures, this can be part of dressing formal. So once again, you're coming off as a racist, who I guess thinks if anyone else doesn't dress exactly like his version of a wasp, then they are trashy. Also, OP, you're incredibly rude and judgmental. This is not a real issue. Literally no one cared but you. If I saw someone with a nose piercing at a formal affair, I wouldn't bat an eyelash or think they were rude. If I found out the groom blocked them off from talking to the bride and kicked them out, I'd think the groom was awful, and I'd be talking all about it to the other friends. Not in a good way. You are such a petty, vengeful little man, you had to bully a woman for basically no reason and kick her out, causing drama at your own wedding. Good luck to your wife, like damn. If you had any decency or shame, apologize right now and several more times as required. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. It's 2021 and piercings are pretty normal. The issue is, you don't like this person and took it upon yourself to kick her out despite your wife wanting her there. Classic a-hole behavior. Jumping on this comment to add that the bride was probably wearing earrings as well as a lot of guests, and they are considered piercings too. I bet he didn't go around telling people to remove their earrings. You're the a-hole. First off, your behavior is far more trashy than any piercing could ever be. Secondly, it's pretty clear why you and the friend don't get along. It's because you're a controlling and judgmental a-hole. Thirdly, piercings are appropriate for formal events and always have been. And fourthly, you had no right to kick your wife's friend out. This is petty, spiteful, childish behavior. Alright guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you need a good laugh, please do check out my second channel, Markee 2, links down in the description below, or it's going to appear somewhere on the screen here at the end, little bubble with my face on it. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon and channel members. Your faces are surrounding me right now, and I love to have you guys with me, and down in the comment sections of each and every video, and just knowing that you're always there to support me. It's a humbling and lovely feeling. And rest assured, I do see you, and I do notice your support, and I thank you every day for being here and helping me along this journey. Not much else to say besides that, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I do hope that you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I will see you in the next video, and thank you again. Bye.